Hey everyone, it's Future Nate. I'm here to clear some things up because Ben is too busy moving. He'll probably never hear this, and I don't want to record a response to him. So, here we go. I feel like in this episode, I didn't make my point as strong as I wanted to because Ben was too busy shoving in Lord of the Rings and also incorrect definitions of things. So, my point is not only is the main character of Axioms End, which we're talking about again, kind of weak, the reason it bothered me is because it was set up to be stronger. It was set up that she was a loser, down on her luck, and she was going to make a change, like Luke Skywalker or Sarah Connor. If she was just going to be a generic character to play off of the more exotic character, they could have just gone with a Bella type. Kind of a blank slate. I get why it was done this way. It's an author insert. But I will say that it was my expectations that were kind of let down. Also, I'll concede Ben's point that this is a complete book. I think my biggest problem is the ending of the book, where she gets knocked out and woken up 3 different times in 3 different locations, and the payoff to it all is that the big villain is defeated by his own goons while Cora runs and hides. It might have been a little more effective had her heroic attack on the villain with a shovel worked, or at least been the setup to the villain being defeated. Instead, not so much. So I think those are the 2 points that really fell flat for me and kind of colored my picture of the book as a whole. It's not a bad book, but I feel like it's only slightly above average rather than good or even great. So those are my thoughts, but definitely check out the rest of the episode because Ben will be in it, saying things about how great I am.
So you summoned me back.
I did.
To talk more about
I did
Axioms
the ritual.
End.
I got the notebook. I took my pants off. And now here you are. We're ready to talk a little more about Axiom's End. Now, do you have anything you want to say? Because I have things I want to say and ask you.
I'll let you kick it off, and then we could go from there.
Well, as I was writing my review for Goodreads, the most important thing I do all day.
It's the most important thing most people on Goodreads do all day. Dunk. I'm kidding.
You gave it 5 stars, so you really like this book.
I did.
I went with 4, and I was kind of leaning 3.5.
Really?
So
Okay.
So, the more I think about it, and I also read some reviews, because I wanted to, why do I feel like this book...
I wanted to confirm my biases, so I sought out similar reviews.
Well, I sought out 1 and 2 star reviews, actually.
Okay.
Ben, let's talk about main character girl in this.
Okay.
What does she have going on?
Not a lot. She's an author self-insert.
Okay. So... how is that interesting, I guess? She's got, no arc, she's got no skills, and she doesn't improve in any tangible way. What's up with that, Ben? And is that necessarily a bad thing?
Well, I guess that's the real meat of the question you're asking me. Obviously, that is a fair criticism. She doesn't have a huge arc, though. I will say
she starts out as a down-on-her-luck loser, and she ends as a down-on-her-luck loser that may have brain-fucked an alien.
I would say she ends as a down-on-her-luck loser that went through a horrible trauma.
Oh, boo-hoo. She got her guts put right back in.
Well, I would say, I think it was planned to be a trilogy, so... I guess I would argue, is there a lot of character growth in a lot of people in the first book of a trilogy?
I would argue that there's some.
I think there's some in this, in that she has answered the call to adventure. What changes about Luke
That's like the
Skywalker in
first.
part one? What
Luke
changes?
Skywalker goes from a farm boy to a hero who blows up the fucking Death Star.
Well, I mean, she's gone from a dropout to a person working at the CIA who just
Does
fought
she
off a
work
deadly.
at the CIA?
She is paid by the CIA. Yeah,
Also, she does that unwillingly. She doesn't have a choice.
that's true.
They are forcibly employing her.
That's a fair criticism.
She doesn't have the agency, which kind of an issue as well, right?
What?
She doesn't really have the agency. Most of the book she's being ferried around.
There are points where she makes choices, but I think it is a fair criticism to say she doesn't have a lot of agency. I don't think it was a huge problem for me because I was more there for the story. Like, I enjoy the ride that I'm being taken on. I like the aliens. I like the world she created. It just worked for me. I think these are all fair points. I liked Korra enough as a character that I kind of didn't care that she didn't have a big arc. I'm interested. I think I was distracted by ampersand, sort of the way you're supposed to be. With any author self-insert book, like with Twilight, it's really more about Edward than it is about Bella. And with this, it's really more about ampersand than it is about Korra. And I would argue ampersand is probably the one getting the arc.
Does he, though?
I think so.
Does he make a change? He goes from...
He makes a change that...
He goes from, I don't see humans as people, to... Maybe I do? Question mark.
So here is one spoiler for Truth of the Divine. Ampersand, I believe, told Korra that he did the mind meld thing with her so he would know where to find her.
Yes.
That's a lie.
Oh my god.
The mind meld...
They do that a lot.
Yeah. The mind meld doesn't work like that. It doesn't let you sense where the person is. He did the mind meld to prove to himself that humans weren't people as he defines people. Because if the mind meld didn't work on them, then he could sort of abandon them in good conscience. And fortunately / unfortunately, it did work. And so now he has to reckon with that. And a lot of...
So you only have value if I can stick my alien dick in you, is what you're saying.
More proving that they're not animals, that they're sentient beings. Like, theoretically, this would work on any truly sentient being.
I don't want to say... Okay, I'm not going to say what I'm...
What are you thinking?
No.
But
you...
Oh, okay. So there is a point in Truth of the Divine where Korra and ampersand are struggling with this relationship that absolutely no being in the universe will understand. And ampersand does comment that it depresses him a little bit because he shouldn't feel any attraction to Korra. He shouldn't feel any special love for Korra because it's bestial. So they do reference that.
So he's like, this is like the human equivalent of like f***ing a cow or something. It's just weird.
I'd say a chimp.
Okay.
But
I don't know if that's necessarily better, but...
a chimp is more sentient. Maybe a dolphin. I know people have done that. But maybe they shouldn't look so sexy when they're swimming around there. But...
Okay. Yeah, I could see how this is the dolphin's fault.
All smooth. But no, I think I like the take on aliens. I like a lot of what she's doing with the First Contact story. I like I would say the humor of it a little bit. I like the setup where there is an alien race. They are far ahead of us, but they got there on a much slower trajectory. And they're worried by us. In Truth of the Divine, it goes more into that, where you find out ampersand was one of the people in charge of sort of surveying Earth and determining if there was intelligent life on Earth. And when Ampersand realizes that there is, and that his species would basically exterminate them if they knew that, he kills all the test subjects and says, nope, they're dumb animals, no need to go any farther. And
Okay.
his lies upon lies come home to roost when that's why all these aliens fled to Earth, because they expected it to be more or less empty. And here it was populated by a globe-spanning civilization, and that really screws everything up. And so it's kind of all Ampersand's fault. But
Okay.
he gets there by trying to do the right thing, but he lies and he lies. And I think, like I said, I think Ampersand gets an arc. I think Cora, she doesn't have a tremendous amount of agency in the next book either.
Okay.
She is more dealing with her traumas. There's a more serious tone. One of the criticisms of the next book is that they introduce a new main character besides Cora and Ampersand, and he sort of takes center stage for a while, and I don't think a lot of people were there for that. I don't think I can argue that Cora is a particularly strong character. So if you need Cora to be a protagonist with a lot of agency who has these arcs, then she's not. But I don't think Lindsay Ellis has ever been pretending that this isn't heavily inspired by things like Transformers. And so I think I enjoy the world and the ride. And
So why would you want to be inspired by Transformers as a book?
It's she
Because from what I understand, the appeal of Transformers is it's a lot of action and Michael Bay blowing shit up, and you don't give a shit about the characters. And this is a book. Blowing stuff up in a book is far less impressive.
Can you name any of the human characters from Transformers?
I don't even any of the movies or any of the shows. Even I don't know
any human character in any Transformers era.
There's Shia LaBeouf.
That's not a
I think
character. That's the
name.
actor.
I think that's. I don't know. I feel like that's just him.
His name is Sam Witwicky or something. And I only remember Megan Fox's character is named Michaela Baines or something because of Michael Bay. He gave her the female version of his name. But my point is, you do remember Optimus Prime and Bumblebee and all those other ones. So I think you do care about characters in Transformers. I just don't think it's the human characters. The human characters are just there to give the audience
That's
an in.
debatable, Ben.
What I'm saying is this is better than Transformers. She saw Transformers and she was like, I like some of the things they're doing here, but I could do it more interesting. And she did.
That's debatable, Ben.
You don't think it's more interesting than Transformers?
I don't know. Transformers is it's got explosions, Ben. It's got a guy that he transforms into a guy that is riding a motorcycle. It's got a transformer that's the moon.
This may not surprise you, but I've never seen one the whole way through.
Yeah, who would have thought? It's because Transformers isn't that great. Oh.
It's not.
What about the main villain man, Obelisk? Why was that such a wet fart, Ben?
Again,
He's defeated by the people who are with him, and then they're just like, I guess we're done here. Bye.
I would tell you that another spoiler is he's not dead.
Okay, but
and Ampersand is the reason he's not dead. Ampersand pulls him out and fakes his death.
Okay, so my question is, that doesn't really enhance my enjoyment of this book. It kind of just ends, I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
Main villain is defeated by his own goons, and then they leave. And then that's it. That's it, Ben.
I agree.
It didn't
you're
feel
really going to hate the
satisfying.
rating I gave God Emperor of Dune. I really don't know what to say other than I liked the ride. I liked the whole way she handled First Contact. I liked that it was set in the early 2000s. It just clicks for me.
I see. So yeah, I'm less high on it the more I talk about it, Ben.
You
The more I think about how most of the people are one note and doesn't just kind of ends. I don't know.
what would it need?
And the overarching thing seems to be like we got to figure out how to not be killed in like 150 years by aliens.
That is the
It's like,
overarching thing.
Ben, you know how we're going to not be killed by aliens in 150 years? It's because we're going to be dead in 50 years for environmental collapse. Checkmate, aliens. We're going to do it to ourselves before you can even get out here.
There's a good chance of that.
Yeah, suck it. We're number one. But the thing about that is you're not in immediate danger. And also, nobody has any solution, and I'm not even sure at the end of this book if Ampersand gives a shit or if he's even going to try. Because the entire book, he's like, no, we need to leave.
Mm.
And then at the end of this, he's like, maybe not, question mark? Anyway, we brain f***ed. That was weird, right?
So the arc of the series is going to be that the danger is probably more immediate than they initially suspected, and that the humans and the remaining amygdalans who have broken off are going to have to try to work together, and that's going to become increasingly difficult as they do not see each other as people. And also their struggle is pretty hopeless, but it's that kind of hopeless where it's like, of course it is, but, you know, a hero can save us.
I don't get that at all from reading this book.
I don't know what to tell you. I suspect it just did not work for you.
Well, I felt like it was going somewhere. It was working for me when they were in the base, because I thought something big was going to happen. Because it starts out as kind of high energy, right? Like the meteor crashes, and all the power goes out, and then she's mind controlled. No, the alien's in her house, and then she's mind controlled, and then the EMP takes out Google, and then we hang out a bit in a military base, which is fine. It was like, we're going to cool down before the next big action. And then that didn't happen.
All I can say is it's a trilogy. So
Yeah, but shouldn't they also be books in their own right? Stories in their own right?
I don't think that always needs to be the case.
Okay.
What's the end of Fellowship of the Ring?
They split off, Ben.
Okay. And if it ended there,
Frodo
you'd be good
makes
with
the
it?
choice.
Like, you don't have any unresolved issues about Frodo as a character? He doesn't seem like a main protagonist that's lacking agency as he's just shuffled around by one elderly man to the next?
He gets agency at the end.
When
That's actually his arc, Ben, when he makes the choice that he has to go it alone.
Because people told him to.
No. He could have stayed with that group except for Sean Bean.
I don't... Okay, I would say Korra made similar choices to that.
I don't believe you. She still seems like she's just going to be shuffled around.
Well, so does Frodo.
But he isn't.
But he is.
But he isn't.
He just walks aimlessly towards Mordor on the quest he was given.
First of all, he chose that quest.
As much as
Second of
Korra
all,
chooses
he
to
chose
help
to
the
break
aliens.
off.
I don't think...
Frodo wasn't mind controlled, and then
Frodo doesn't...
oh, hey, we should work together, I guess.
Frodo... I don't think Frodo has such a strong protagonist feel. I don't even think Frodo's really the protagonist.
I think that he answers the call to adventure way before the very end of the book, which is not what I could say with Korra.
Well, she answers the call to adventure when she doesn't just turn in the alien or kill him.
She thinks he's dead. She's like, oh, he's dead. Okay, I'm going to drive away in this van. It'd be a lot easier to not have to drag him and lay him in the parking lot.
There are many opportunities she has to abandon Ampersand, but she chooses to go along for the adventure. I don't think she has.
There comes a point
tremendous
where
amount of
she
agency.
has no choice in that.
Yeah.
The CIA isn't like Frodo. If you try to pawn this ring on someone else, we'll fucking kill you.
Well, but they are like, Frodo, if you don't do this, the entire world ends. Repeatedly.
Yeah, but not in like 150 years when you won't be around anyway, so who cares? You'll tangibly have everyone die around you.
I think knowing for a fact that the world ends in, 3 generations is actually pretty intimidating to most people. I think those are reasonably high stakes.
You think so?
Would you still have children if you knew
there's a
her
decent amount of people, I feel like,
yeah,
who are like, it'd be nice if the world just ended with me.
There are, and I think they're going
since all the way back to Babylon.
Yeah.
Or Sumeria.
Okay. Well, so Cora's not one of them. She's made that choice, I guess. She's made the choice to care.
She's made the choice to be frightened.
Okay. Well, that's...
Which isn't really a choice.
I don't think so. I think you're going... I'll put it this way. What do you give any of the... I don't know. I don't think it's high art. Like, I can totally understand not giving it 5 stars. I can understand being really disappointed with it or maybe not even finishing it if you were expecting some sort of like real hard sci-fi like Asimov or Dune or something like that. But
Ben, I have never expected or wanted real hard sci-fi.
Well, then
after reading Dune, I was like, I guess I'm done. And then you keep making me read it.
But you will so often say, this is a dumb popcorn book, a phrase I hate because no one eats popcorn while reading a book, but...
That's not what that means, Ben.
I understand, but that's
I don't
the
know
image
if you do
it
understand
conjures.
that.
Like a movie to sell popcorn.
Yeah, as opposed
it works
to
for movies
that
because
don't
people
sell
eat popcorn while watching movies, and movie theaters make most of their money.
Ben, popcorn is the thing you eat that has very little impact on your nutritional
That
status.
is not why people say that. I don't think you know why people say that.
I don't think you're understanding what I'm saying then, Ben.
I don't think
fine.
you're using the phrase the way most people use it.
So this is a Nazi book, Ben. Is that better? You could kill Nazis without feeling guilty? Or a zombie book, you could kill zombies without feeling guilty? Does that make you feel better, Ben?
Most people would say, like... So when you say popcorn book, as people say popcorn movie, because movie theaters make money selling popcorn, and that's a movie that just sells popcorn.
A film that is perceived as entertaining but lacking in depth or artistic merit.
Correct.
So a popcorn book would be a book that is perceived as entertaining but lacking in depth or artistic merit.
Right, but you're
Suck
not
Ben.
understanding why they said popcorn.
I'm not caring either.
It's not just a coincidence that popcorn is sold in movie theaters and it has little traditional value. Like,
the term popcorn fiction is usually used to describe fiction that, like popcorn, is light, airy, and goes down very easily. Ben.
That's just somebody like you wrote that who doesn't understand the meaning.
Yeah, I'm sure that it's just me and this one other person that doesn't understand.
Who wrote that?
It,
What's your
Ben.
source?
Let's see. This guy gets it. That guy gets it. Wow. Look at all these people, Ben.
I'm just saying, okay, you found a bunch of people that agree with you on the internet.
Yeah. You're welcome. So Ben, are you going to buy popcorn to watch your book?
That seems to be what you're suggesting to me.
That is not at all what I'm suggesting to you. I'm comparing it to a food.
I don't know why you'd compare it to that food and not like any other candy.
What would you suggest? What is light, airy, and goes down easily?
Junk food.
That's popcorn, Ben.
But you specifically call out popcorn.
Do you want me to call it a junk food book?
Yes.
Would that be better
yes,
for you?
That would be better.
Okay, Ben, I'll call it a junk food book just for you.
Thank you. I also
You're
disagree
welcome.
that it's a junk food book.
Okay, what is it, Ben?
I don't know. I think it's entertaining, but it's not high art. I think it's a fine piece of fiction.
Are we talking about in general that book term, or are we back on Axioms?
Oh no, I'm talking about Axioms End.
Yeah, and I would agree. It's not entertaining.
Well, then we disagree.
I would disagree with that too. I'm just being contrarian on that point. I think it's entertaining to a point, and then at the end, I'm left going, "Oh, what was the point of that?"
I had fun reading this one.
And no, I'm not going to read the other two books to give this book meaning, Ben. Sell me on that.
I'm telling you that, like, Fellowship of the Ring, if you just read Fellowship of the Ring,
you would be like, oh, I want to read the next two books because it's engaging. Or you'd be like, oh, this guy has
should I go look up a 1-star review of Fellowship of the Ring where somebody says that Frodo is not a real character and Aragorn and Legolas are Mary Sue's? And I don't know. I think she's not a strong character, Cora, but she's interesting enough, and I think Ampersand is interesting, and I want to know more about him, and I think the alien civilization is interesting. I think so. I guess some of it maybe comes from the fact that this particular era for a first contact story has...
Actually, to be fair, you'd probably read the first Lord of the Rings book and go, oh my god, never again.
I was going to say, I think a lot of people do that. That's when you're like...
Yeah, I'm just going to go watch the movie.
Yeah. Well, I have some disagreements with Peter Jackson's choices, but...
It's okay to be wrong.
Well, Peter Jackson found that out when he made the Hobbit movies.
Yeah, that was a mistake.
So... I don't know. In the early 2000s, I was really into X-Files and all that stuff. And there's just something about this story that it's a first contact story that really resonates with me. And I guess you could convince me my 5-star rating is too generous. I don't think 3 or 3.5 is a bad rating for this book. I think on the rubric of thing I like, thing that is good, it's probably more a thing I like than a thing that is good. But I do think it's competently written, and I thought it was entertaining. I read it really quick, and it is probably worth having a separate discussion about whether or not that means it's a good book. I wouldn't be offended if you gave it a 3.
And I did.
I think a 2 is being a little harsh.
Well, my score is the objective score, Ben. So
what did you give?
It's a 3-star book now.
What did you give all the Star Wars books?
Depends on which one.
What's your highest rated Star Wars book?
Last Command.
And what is the rating?
That's a 4, Ben.
Okay. I would argue that a 4 is too high for Last Command. Why did you give Last Command a 4? Because I could apply all that same shit to Last Command. Last Command was the best. And that's another one where...
Except for when they did my boy Thrawn dirty.
That was really disappointing.
That was bad.
Yeah. I don't think there is a lot that is bad with Axiom's End. I think there's a lot that could be better.
That's why I'm going middle of the road here.
I think that's totally fair.
Bad book.
The only thing...
Even though it comes off that way, because I'm playing the negative end to your positive end. I'd say it's a middle of the road book, maybe leaning towards like 3.5, but I can't do 3.5 on Goodreads.
So, yeah, I think Truth of the Divine got me even more into the series, and that could be part of the reason I'm rating so high or I'm advocating so much for this. What is the last 5 out of 5 book we read for you?
Well, I initially put Leviathan Wakes, but then I rethought that. I made that 4. So, last 5. I gave the Dragon Republic a 5.
I think I gave the Dragon Republic a 5.
And it's gonna remain a 5, even though the sequel really lets it down. And then before that, I think it was the Rack.
So you always get on me whenever I talk about what numbers mean. You think it's boring. You think nobody cares.
Do I say or do that, Ben?
You do. I have the audio clips if you want me.
I do. I want you to clip those.
I will.
I want you to send them to me.
I will go dig them up for you.
And then there was Sand Kings and the Ghost Adventures Club and Neuromancer and the Velt.
So, when you rate a book...
And Edenverse.
Okay, I gave Edenverse like 0. So, when you rate a book, how much of the rating is determined by how much you like the book? Or how much do you even think about that when you give the rating? Versus how objectively good the book is?
Well, first of all, Ben, I am the objective opinion on everything. So I'm right by default. But I'll humor you, and I'll say that I typically rate it with how much I enjoyed it, and then I have to temper that with how good it is. So I enjoyed Leviathan Wakes a lot, and then I had to go back and think, all right, but like Holden, the ending, and so I ended up skewing it down a bit. That's how I arrived at 4.
So, according to that, I would probably have to re-rate this a 4.
Oh my god.
I'm going to confess something to you on...
You just did it based on how you liked it, Ben?
I did it based on how much I liked it. But you know what? Yeah, and it does seem... I will agree with you. It does seem unfair to say, well, it's not so much about the characters, it's more about the world and the adventure she goes on, and then give Leviathan Wakes only 4 stars, because Leviathan Wakes is a much more meticulously researched, like, well-crafted story. But I just didn't like it as much because I cannot stand Holden, and I cannot stand his crew. And I don't know. There's a problem for me where it seems like very few. This is probably worth having its own episode when I have some more time to think about some examples and to think about why. But most of the books that I really, really like, I can acknowledge are probably objective 3s. But for me, they're 5s. Like Dune. Like God Emperor of Dune. Fellowship of the Ring, even. I mean, I like a lot of long, boring lore dump books. If there's something that just hooks my brain, I'm in. And I get so excited about it, and I love it. And that's what Axioms Addendum did for me. But you're making legit criticisms. I don't think anything you've said is wrong or off base. I think it's a little harsh. I think as long as the comparative rating bears it out, which for you it seems to. Like if you really are going back and tempering these things down, then I think you might actually be giving a more objective rating than I am. I think you're the scientist here.
Yeah, I'm the objective opinion on this book. 3.5 stars. That's the final verdict from Nate, which is the correct answer.
I would still be a little more generous. I would still give it 4 stars, just because even if I'm being objective, and even if I'm saying Cora's an author self-insert that has no personality, I'm gonna say the world that's being created, the attention to detail for going back to the 2000s, the use of the appropriate slang and all that stuff
Shui.
is, I think it merits 4 out of 5. I don't think I'd go any lower than 4 out of 5, but you have talked me down to a 4. I will not be updating my Goodreads rating because I'm not a flip-flopper. So I'd be interested to know from anyone listening to the podcast. Whenever I request feedback, I never get it. Whenever I don't request feedback, I get more than I ever wanted. So this is probably going to backfire on me. As a listener of something like Words About Books, how would you like me to rate books? Do you want me to rate them based on how objectively well written they are? Or do you want me to rate things based on how much I enjoyed
Both.
reading them?
Do what Nate does.
One and then the other? Or would you like me to give 2 ratings on the blog? The how it made me feel and the how skillfully it was written. So if you could let me know on Twitter at WABpod or email us at wordsaboutbooks@gmail.com. I would really like some feedback on that because I get kind of into the weeds on giving ratings, and I know no one gives a shit what I rate a book, but
yeah, they're only here for me. I'm the one giving out awards and giving out stars left and right.
Do you care more what Ben the person thinks or Ben the scholar thinks? And just know that neither one of them is particularly successful. So I would advise not really caring too much what either thinks. But which would you prefer to hear from? Let us know.
And remember, there is the option of just saying what Nate thinks.
Or would you rather I never give an opinion again and defer to Nate?
No. Give an opinion that is exactly in line with Nate's.
Should we frame this podcast on, I felt differently about this book. Please tell me why I'm wrong.
Exactly.
I do think that popcorn book is a bad phrase. I'm sticking to it.
Yeah, it's okay to be wrong, Ben.
I want you to leave that whole thing in. I don't care if this is 2 hour long.
Tweet us and email us on why Ben is wrong about that phrase.
Legit, after this episode goes out, I'm starting a Twitter poll. You can start an Instagram poll. We'll see whose people are where.
Is that a thing?
I think you could do
polls
some
on Instagram.
I don't know. Just tell them to leave a comment or something. Count them with your big brain.
Okay, is she talking loudly enough that from a different person it would be considered a yell, but from your wife it's just normal? Your wife, it's just